That's North Atlantic Invasion Force by name. The last song ever done by the group. Half of the group, I guess.
Half of the group,
yeah.
Right.
Song of Sun. Right here on Connecticut Rocks. I'm your host, Bob D. April. And we just did a nice little focus on music of North Atlantic Invasion Force. That was your first group, George?
Yeah, actually. Well, I kicked around in some bands that really had no names.
Okay.
So that lasted for about 3 or 4 months. And then,
all right. Now, after this recording of Song of Sun, you kind of moved on with your life, right?
Actually, what happened is I started playing the Zodiac circuit and doing 6 nights a week and just, waking up later and later in the morning and looking in the mirror and saying, if you keep this up, you're not going to last. So I met a girl actually when I played up there, and I've been with her ever since. She's just a sweetheart of a woman.
Yeah. And it's documented somewhere you went into the business of antiques.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, the first place that we played with any crowds that came, we did college mixers at a place in North Haven, which was the North Haven Firehouse that was connected to a big auditorium, and we rented it and charged $1 a piece for people to come in for the mixers, And later on, it came up for sale, and we ended up buying it, and that's where the antique store was. So there was this big nostalgic kind of thing. It was very cool.
Very cool. Now, in all these years that you were an antiques dealer, did anyone approach you about the days of North Atlantic Invasion Force and say, is anyone going to come back and play some music again?
No, something, it never really crossed paths. The only thing that was kind of exciting that happened there, a friend of mine introduced me to Graham Nash from Crosby, Stills and Nash, and he came to the antique store one day, and matter of fact, the thing that was funny about it is I hadn't played in about 35 years, and I was just starting to do my own stuff again. And mentioned to Graham, he says to me, I hear you're doing some recording. What kind of stuff you doing? Original stuff? Gee, could you play a couple? So my very first audience is Graham Nash. He's sitting about 10 feet from me. It was like the coolest thing.
Yeah.
And he is the nicest guy.
Yeah.
He's just a sweetheart.
About when was that?
About 4 years ago, I guess.
Oh, 4 years ago.
3 years ago, yeah.
And you had recorded a solo album?
Well, I was just starting on it. And what happens, that kind of went bad, too. And the reason why I wasn't really happy with it is I got involved in this click track thing recording because we were going to layer some stuff on it later. And it got too stiff. And a dear friend of mine who had played a couple of keyboard parts on one of the songs, Mike Paone, who I grew up with and he was in the jazz piano player, played around for a long, long time. And he was on the song. We were talking about that, and he said, something, the lesson you got to learn in life is that life isn't on a click track. So it got me thinking about just doing stuff natural and live, and if it happens to be dead on, great. If it isn't, it's not the end of the world,
Yeah. All right. Well, the 2 tracks we have, I guess, from this, they're both from your solo album, correct?
Right.
And what is the solo album called?
Listen in the Dark.
Listen in the Dark. Oh, okay. So that seems natural then to play Can You Hear Me right after Listen in the Dark.
There you go.
What are the origins of this song? Can You Hear Me?
It's really, again, this whole idea of trying to get peace on earth and trying to get people to just slow down and try to take care of one another, because this is really it. And I've always been kind of involved in that. In all my songs, when I do a couple of things live later, you'll see that it's
optimism and positive attitude, I guess.
I think so.
Yeah. All right. Well, just want to remind everyone, this is Connecticut Rocks. I'm your host, Bob D. April, here on WPKN 89.5 FM in Bridgeport, Connecticut, USA. And we're streaming and archived online at WPKN.org. Here's one from George Morgio's solo album called Can You Hear Me? Right here on Connecticut Rocks.
Is anybody out there? Can you hear me? there? Can you hear me? Wouldn't it be nice if we could learn to live together? Wouldn't it be nice if we could learn to love one another? And wouldn't it be nice when someone falls, we would all lift them up? When they're thirsty, yeah, we can fill their cup. Wouldn't it be nice, yeah, yeah, cause we're not different, we're all same. When we get hurt, Lord, we all feel pain. When we work together, there's so much to gain. Wouldn't it be nice, yeah, yeah, wouldn't it be nice if we could hear all the children laughing? Lift your spirit high like you're on a river, wide water rafting. Wouldn't it be nice if everyone had a kind word? No more cussing and fighting. Is that the way we are? How absurd. Wouldn't it be nice if peace could rule the world? When nighttime falls, sweet dreams for every boy and girl. Wouldn't it be nice, yeah, yeah, cause we're not different, we're all same. When we get hurt, Lord, we all feel pain. When we work together, there's so much to gain. Wouldn't it be nice, yeah, yeah, is anybody out there? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
that's George Morgio solo with Can You Hear Me? And George, you were going to tell me where you recorded this solo album.
Yeah, I recorded that at Trodnossel. But the very first time we recorded, which was Blue and Green Gown, it was at Trodnossel before it was Trodnossel. It was Synchron Studios.
Oh.
And then later Doc Cavalier bought it and turned it into Trodnossel.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, Trodnossel's become legendary in terms of not only Connecticut artists that they've recorded there, but so many other people have come through.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great little studio, really.
Yeah. And since then, I mean, into modern day, I mean, I'm connected with a gentleman who runs Coffee House Studio in Middletown, which has recorded a lot of indie bands similar to what Trodnossel would have been, say, in the 60s.
Right.
Coffee House has been since the, say, 80s and 90s.
Oh, cool.
Doing all kinds of things. Okay, but I wanted to do one more recorded track from your album, and then we're going to...
Actually, this isn't on the album.
Oh, what is it?
Is this Killing New Orleans?
Yes, Killing New Orleans.
Yeah. I had just kind of wrote that and put it out on a disc real quick, just after the hurricane came.
Katrina, yeah.
And trying to do something to just help whatever way I could with what was going on.
Now, that was meant as a fundraiser? Or?
Yeah, it was meant. Actually, I played down in New York, and they had all the money that came from that little concert and the sale of the CD went to the relief fund. And then I had a thing up on my website that people could donate and stuff based on that song. So it was
your website is georgemorgio.com. Yes. Anyone out there listening that's not familiar with George Morgio, and his band back in the 60s called North Atlantic Invasion Force. His website is georgemorgio.com. All right. This is George Morgio with Killing New Orleans. Killing New Orleans.
Killing New Orleans.
Yes.
The wind is blowing, the water's high. There's so much anger up in the sky. The noise will scare you, drive you insane. Between the hanging on and the pounding of the rain. From out of nowhere, a silence falls. Then you hear it, that anguish call. Before long it echoes and the cries are everywhere. Now the sun goes down, hope turns into fear. Why can't they hear us, Lord? They must be deaf, it seems. Looks like they're killing New Orleans. Is this a test to see just who we are? Some folks do the worst things, most shine like stars. And if you listen, you will hear a common voice. Help one another, we all have a choice. Don't be afraid now, it's not dark as it seems. And don't you give up on all your hopes and dreams. And just remember, there ain't no killing New Orleans. It's not just a city, it's a state of mind. It's all about the people, all colors and all kinds. Just like a moonbeam out on the sea, the city's gonna shine again. Everyone will see. So don't be afraid now, it's not dark as it seems. And don't you give up on all your hopes and dreams. And just remember, there ain't no killing